Well, today we begin the second part of our four-part series on how to live the good life in this economy. And this part is entitled, God's Steps for Coping with Stress. Today, the question is not, are you stressed? But how much are you stressed? The simplest definition I know of stress is this. Stress is the result of carrying too heavy a load. We carry too great a load in our time, with our money, with our relationships, and within ourselves. And the inevitable result of that is stress. Now, what we're going to do today is look at 4 steps for coping with stress that God shows to us out of Scripture. And as we go through these steps, my hope is that you will pick one of these 4 things for you to work on over the next few weeks. Just pick one. Don't try to do all 4. Just look for one and say, that's the area which I'm going to start on in reducing my stress in my life. So here we go. If you want to have less stress, check your schedule. Dr. Richard Swenson, in his book, The Overload Syndrome, quotes a mom who says this, "I'm so tired. My idea of a vacation is the trip to the dentist. I just want to sit in that seat and relax." Is that stress? Now, if you're feeling that way, you are overloaded. Your schedule is too full. One popular magazine put it this way: technological advances have expanded the business day. Leisure time has shrunk. Bathing-suited businessmen walk the beaches with their cell phones at their ear, making their appointments for the upcoming Monday. Laptop computers are now finding their way on those relaxful vacations. And working couples are picking their children up on the way home to dinners that are prepared by caterers or fast food chefs. Ecclesiastes 5:3 tells us the effect of this kind of busyness. It says being too busy gives you nightmares. Busyness has an impact on our lives. We used to say, go with the flow, but it doesn't help to just go with the flow any longer because the flow is going faster and faster and faster, and we don't know how to stop. Busyness, this rush, is a part of our work, but it's also part of our families, and it's part of our play. And so how do you stop? How do you lessen the stress in your schedule? Psalm 90:12 is a prayer, and it says this to us: Lord, teach us to make the most of our time, that we may grow in wisdom. And one way to use our time wisely is not to jam it full in our schedules. We need to uncrowd our schedules and stop trying to put 36 hours into a 24-hour day. You see, that's what we're trying to do. Today, we're trying to cram too much into a day. You know, if we needed more time, God would have created 36 hours in a day. But He created 24. And He looked and He said, hey, this is pretty good. This is where I want my people to live in the time frame in which I want them to live. You see, we fall prey to the myth of what's called the 5% more. We say, you know, I can do 5% more. 5% really isn't a big thing, is it? And so when the opportunity comes along at work for us to do a little more to prove ourselves, we say, well, you know, I can do 5% more. But you see, that's not the only place that demand is put on us. There's the thing with the soccer league and the dance lessons and the music lessons. And you think, well, I can add just 5% more and I can fit all of this in. And then, of course, there's the other sports activities, the family, the vacation, and the other project that has to be done at work. And we say, just 5% more, I can fit it in. And pretty soon, what happens? That 5% increases to be 50% and then 100% more of our time. And then what happens? Another opportunity comes along. And what do we say? Well, it's only 5% more. So here's a simple rule that will make wise use of your time and help you to grow in wisdom. Now, I don't know if you've got the idea yet, but it's a good idea to bring a pen with you, because you can write on the bulletin, because you're going to want to write this down. Very simple. If you're going to add 5% to an already crowded schedule, what you need to do is subtract 5% from somewhere else. So right now I want you to decide. I want you to decide that you aren't going to add anything more to your schedule without deciding to subtract something. And that's one decision that you make that will make an incredible impact on your already overcrowded time. And then I want you to take one step further. I want you not only to say, no, I'm not going to add 5%, I want you to take that away. So you're going to stop adding and you're going to take away. And you need to decide to do that. Decide to do it, as an example, with your family. Now, how many people here have seen the commercials that say good decision, bad decision? Have you seen that? Seen those commercials? Yeah. Well, if you're going to subtract 5% or do something in terms of making your schedule right with your family, the bad decision is to decide to subtract family time from your golf. Okay, we all agree that's a bad decision? You don't want to do that. But seriously, you need to subtract 5% and you will be amazed at the lessening of the stress in your life. If you're going to have less strife, you and I are going to have to check our schedules. We're going to have to check our schedules, and we're going to have to check our finances. Have you noticed that there's no instruction book for using money? There probably should be, and probably a lot of us would be in better condition if there was one. But this step of checking your finances is so important that we're going to spend a whole sermon on that next week. And we're going, as we talk about God's formula for coping with our finances in these economic times. And we're going to take the time to focus on it because it not only adds to our stress if we don't handle them well, but it can also destroy our relationships. There are more marriages destroyed because of financial problems than any other problem married couples face. Here's what I want to suggest, is you may know some people who need to look at their finances and find ways to cope with handling their finances. I would encourage you next week to invite a person to come with you to worship so that they might learn God's pattern for that. And so we check our schedules, we check our finances, and then we need to check our words. All of us have experienced the stress that comes into our lives because of words. Think of this, an example. That perfect evening at home. You're sitting there, husband, wife, maybe the kids, and you've got the popcorn out and the video's going and everything's going right. And then someone says something a little sarcastic. And what's the automatic thing that seems to happen when sort of someone says something with a little edge? Back comes another person with a little bit of an edge on what they've said. Back and forth it goes until finally it's a horrible, horrible evening. Anybody experienced that before? Yeah, it happens all the time.